I think we'll make a start. You're all very welcome to the Assurance, Audit and Risk Committee for February. We're going to start now with notice and summons a meeting and attendance, and Denise is going to take that for us.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. You're hereby summoned to attend the bi-monthly meeting of the Assurance, Audit and Risk Committee, which will be a hybrid meeting conducted remotely via WebEx and physically in the Council chamber here, Derry, Monday the 3rd of February at 4 p.m. We take the roll. Alderman Darren Guy.
Here.
Alderman Keith Kerrigan. Yep. Councillor Raymond Barr.
Here, Denise.
Councillor Amanda Clark. Councillor Caitlin Deaney. Councillor Caroline Devine. Sure. Councillor Gary Donnelly. Councillor Paul Gallagher.
I'm sure.
Councillor Fergal Leonard.
I'm sure.
Councillor Patricia Logue. Councillor Patrick Murphy. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Logue. Councillor Declan Norris. Councillor Martin Riley.
Online, Denise.
Councillor Brian Tierney. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Denise. We're going to move on now to item 3, and that's the broadcasting statement. I would like to remind everyone present at this meeting that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. If you're seated in the lower public seating media area, it's possible that the recording cameras will capture your image, and this will result in the possibility that your image will become part of the broadcast. By entering the Council chamber and using the press or lower public seating area, you're consenting to being filmed and consenting to the use and storage of those images for webcasting or training purposes and for the purpose of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. If you wish to avoid this, you should move to the upper public gallery. A copy of the Council's privacy notice may be found on the Council website. Moving on now to item number 4, declarations of members' interest. Nothing in the chamber. If you have anything online, just put it into the chat. Item number 5 is chairperson's business, and I don't have any business today. Moving on now to item number 6, matters arising from the open minutes of Assurance, Audit and Risk Committee held on Monday, the 18th of November. Does anyone have any matters arising? No. So moving on now to item number 7, and that's the annual audit letter 23-24, and Brian O'Neill is going to take that.
Yes, Chair, thank you. I'll take the report as read, Chair, but just to highlight a few major points within the report. The annual audit letter, the Chief Local Government Auditor issues this report at the end of every audit. So for this year's audit, she gave an unqualified audit opinion, and that's reflected at page 14 of the pack, and pages 5 and 6 give a wee bit more of information on it. The local government auditor also included an emphasis of matter paragraph in relation to the going concern of the City of Derry Airport, which has previously been reported to this committee. The emphasis of matter paragraph is not a qualification, but it's just added to indicate a matter which is disclosed appropriately in the notes to the accounts. The rest of the report highlights the Council's group structure and some key statistics from the financial information presented, a bit of information on staff, the staff numbers, and concludes on the work on economy, efficiency and effectiveness. Top of page 8 of the report highlights the annual governance statement, the work done by internal audit in the year, and the work done by this particular committee during the year. We highlight other areas of interest in terms of absenteeism and the performance improvement and assessment audit, which is on the agenda later on, and I can chat separately about that. Bit of information on the National Fraud Initiative as well, and the report finally concludes by the financial resilience of the Council and to thank officers for their support during our audit. So happy to take any questions on the attached report, Chair.
Thank you, Brian. Councillor Logue.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Chair. I have no questions, Brian, but I just want to thank you for this audit report. It's very much welcomed by the council, and I want to thank all the officer team, notwithstanding our own audit team, and helping to get all this information together for your consideration. So thank you very much.
No further comments. So we have a recommendation to endorse the contents of the annual audit letter. Councillor Lowe.
I'll propose.
Thank you. Someone want to second that? Thank you, Alderman Kerrigan. Moving on now to item 8 on our agenda, and that's the North West Regional Waste Management Group report to those charged with governance for 23-24. And Brian's going to take that.
Okay, Chair, thank you. I'll take the report as read again, Chair, and the North West Regional Waste Management Group. This is our final report that was charged with governance. Again, similar to the Council's audit, a clean opinion, only this time no modification, so everything an unqualified audit opinion. And the Chief Local Government Auditor certified completion of the audit last October. There were no misstatements to the accounts or no uncorrected misstatements, and there were no points to report, so no points requiring a management response. The audit is now complete. Statement of accounts and all have been signed and certified. Just confirmation that we are independent, how we manage personal data throughout the audit, and actions for the audit committee here just to review the findings set out in this report, including the letter of representation and the audit certificate as outlined in the report. So a clean audit opinion with no issues to report, and happy to take any questions on that report as well, Chair.
Thank you, Brian. Alderman Kerrigan.
Just declaration of interest for North West Regional Waste Management Group.
Chair, just to again thank the auditor for that very in-depth report as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have
Chair,
a recommendation.
Councillor Riley online, just to thank the officer for the report, and it's good to get a straightforward recommendation. So happy to second that if Councillor Logue has proposed it. I'm happy to propose it if Councillor Logue hasn't proposed it, Chair, but thanks to the team for the work on that item.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. So we'll move on now to item 9, and that's the North West Regional Waste Management Group Joint Committee Annual Audit Letter. And Brian's going to take that as well.
Thank you, Chair. The annual audit letter, again, we send this out every year after the audit of the North West Region Waste Management Group. Similar to the letter that I've just talked about with the full council, summarises the key messages arising from the audit. And as I referred to there, clean audit certificate, no issues to report, true and fair opinion, and again, no issues with regards to this audit. We've a paragraph there in the economy, efficiency and effectiveness, having looked at the system of internal control. The governance statement, again, we had no issues with the annual governance statement, and our review didn't highlight any inconsistencies. And again, happy to take any questions on that annual audit letter, but a straightforward letter, no issues to report, Chair.
Thank you, Brian.
Just propose to accept that audit letter.
Thank you, Councillor Logue. Do we have someone to second? Thank you, Councillor Clark. Our next item then, number 10, is the internal audit reports, and Deborah's going to take that.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to update members on the internal audit work completed within the Council in the period November 24 to January 25. Following audit work has been finalised recently, internal audit of corporate credit cards and the internal audit of North West Region Waste Management Group for the 23-24 financial year. If I start first with internal audit of corporate credit cards, this audit was included as part of the agreed internal audit plan of work for 24-25. There are currently 5 Derry City and Strabane District Council officers who have been issued with a corporate credit card. Whilst credit cards are administered by the Strategic Finance and Funding section, individual cardholders are responsible for their own cards and approve all transactions for which their card is used. Internal audit reviewed the following areas: credit card procedures, approval of cardholders issued with credit cards, approval for other officers to use those credit cards, credit card transactions and spend limits, the monthly reconciliation process and the payment of credit card balances. This audit has been given the assurance level of satisfactory, which is the highest level achievable. Internal audit noted areas of good practice in place for the use of corporate credit cards. Internal audit noted regular and open communication between all parties involved in the use and management of corporate credit cards, including cardholders, their PAs, requesting officers and staff from the Strategic Finance and Funding section. Internal audit also noted that there were a limited number of corporate credit cards in use, with 5 credit cards that were issued only to senior officers with a legitimate business need for a corporate credit card. Testing also showed that all credit card transactions reviewed were for legitimate business purposes only, and there were no purchases for personal use. For one of the credit cards that is used by the fleet section, internal audit confirmed that all MOT and vehicle tax payments related to current DCSDC vehicles. Audit testing also showed no erroneous or fraudulent transactions, and all transactions were reconciled to monthly credit card statements. Each corporate credit card had an appropriate spend limit in place, proportionate to the use of the card, and all spend limits were adhered to during the period under review. Internal audit also noted that Strategic Finance and Funding had processes in place to ensure card balances were paid in full each month within the required period. Although internal audit noted the above areas of good practice, we have also made 7 recommendations to improve the control environment going forward. The key priority 1 recommendations relate to improving the control environment in the following areas: improved written procedures for corporate credit cards, improvements to the credit card purchase form and the use of this document by all cardholders, clarification on the requirements for supporting documentation for all credit card transactions and the roles and responsibilities for the provision and verification of this information, restrictions on the sharing of credit card details, subsistence payments incurred in corporate credit cards, and recurring subscription payments on corporate credit cards, and the procurement requirements of these. Management have responded positively to the recommendations raised, and the table of recommendations with implementation dates is included in the report, which is attached at Appendix D for information. The second audit then is the internal audit of North West Region Waste Management Group for the 23-24 financial year. Again, this audit was carried out as part of the agreed internal audit plan of work for 24-25. Internal audit reviewed North West Region Waste Management Group expenditure, income included credit control, budgetary control and governance arrangements in place, and followed up progress on previous internal audit recommendations made. Based on the audit work carried out, the controls in place over North West Region Waste Management Group provide satisfactory assurance that the system objectives will be achieved, which is the highest level achievable. Appropriate segregation of duties have been applied and the payments reviewed, and all invoice calculations were correct. Internal audit is also satisfied that income due to North West Region Waste Management Group is identified, invoiced and used for the purposes intended, and appropriate budgetary control and governance arrangements are in place. However, to further strengthen and improve the control environment, internal audit made 6 recommendations to improve the control environment going forward. The key priority 1 recommendations relate to strengthening the control environment in the following areas: compliance with procurement requirements, checks of invoice against agreed charge rates, and promptness of carrying out processes for the recruitment of monies. Of the 6 outstanding recommendations made in the previous North West Region Waste Management Group internal audit reports, 4 are now fully implemented, 1 partially implemented and 1 not implemented. Those not fully implemented relate to the completion and authorisation of purchase orders. Further information is contained within the appendix of the report. Internal audit noted that management have responded again positively to all the recommendations, and a summary of the recommendations together with management responses and implementation dates is included in the report, which is attached to Appendix E for information. There are no implications arise as a result of this audit work. It is recommended to seek members' comments in the internal audit reports. I'm happy to take any questions from an audit perspective, and management from the areas are here today to take any questions from an operational perspective. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Deborah. Councillor Logue.
Deborah, thank you for those two reports. And while I have no questions, I just want to make a few comments on the first one, the credit card. I know all council business is important, but credit card, we have to be exceptionally careful around this issue. And I see there was 7 B1 recommendations, and they all have said that by the end of January, the 7 recommendations will be implemented. So I presume, I'll take it that that has happened. On the Northwest Waste Management Group, there was 3 B1s and 3 B2s, and they are saying that they would have had their action plan done by the end of December, which is very, very good indeed too. So thank you all very much for your work, and we welcome these reports. Thank you.
Go ahead, Brona.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Deborah, for the comprehensive reports. They're very good. I just have 2 questions, if I may, Chair. The first is just a follow-up really in relation to the councillor's comments about the credit card recommendations that have been made. And yes, it's good to see that management are implementing them by the end of last month, effectively. I just want to be reminded, if I may, when we will get feedback to this audit committee about the actual, whenever the internal audit go back and check that those have actually been implemented. I just want to check the time frame around that, if I may. And then I have another question, so is it okay to get that first, Chair? Thank you.
Thanks, Brona, for your question. In relation to the credit card audit, because it got satisfactory, internal audit will not undertake a complete follow-up audit separately. But what will happen is that it will feed in as part of the recommendations follow-up of all priority 1 recommendations, which is fed back to this committee in June time.
That's great. Thank you, Deborah. Chair, may I go ahead? The second question is in relation to the Northwest report and in relation to the item on 3.2.5 paragraph where you've stated there that one of the recommendations wasn't implemented. And if I'm reading this correctly, I believe that recommendation wasn't implemented last year either. It is to do with the signing and the authorisation of the purchase orders, which is a very important control in these circumstances. Therefore, I just wanted to check from an internal audit point of view and perhaps from management as well, from internal audit's point of view, what risk they perceive as being exposed to, given that it was signed by an administrative assistant. Perhaps from management's point of view, some more information as to why the recommendation hadn't been implemented the previous year. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Brona.
Brona, just to come back from an audit perspective, in previous year, completion of purchase orders was an issue identified also, and I think in previous year's audit, some of the problem was that there were actual missing purchase orders. This year, there's been a big improvement in relation to all invoices received had an attached purchase order, but in relation to the indicative pricing, the purchase orders being signed off by in this instance, most of them have been signed off by the admin assistants, whereas the corporate policy would be at a level, a position higher than that. I think the error occurred due to management interpreted the policy as the invoices were all appropriately signed off, but maybe not the purchase order. And I think it's maybe a lesson, or not a lesson, but management have taken that on board. I'm not sure if Conor, you want to come in?
No, Chair. As you referred to, that had been the practice in previous years, and following the recommendation, I'd sign off the purchase orders as they're generated.
Any further questions or comments? Okay, happy to move on. Okay, so we're going to move on now then to item number 11, and that's the internal audit plan 24-25 update, and Deborah's going to take that first.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to provide members a mid-year update in terms of the progress of the delivery of the internal audit plan of work for the 24-25 year and any amendments required. The aim of internal audit is to provide an independent assurance and advisory service which will help the Council achieve its objectives and improve the effectiveness of its risk management, control and governance processes. An operational internal audit plan is agreed annually for the Council. Members will be aware that the internal audit plan for 24-25 was presented and approved at the meeting of the Assurance Audit Risk Committee in March 2024. The key challenge for the internal audit section in 24-25 is to continue to carry out detailed audit assignments based on the audit needs assessment, providing an appropriate level of assurance for the council whilst also delivering on a number of competing demands. The internal audit plan for 24-25 is broken down into the areas as highlighted in paragraph 3. Overall, good progress has been made in the internal plan of work to date, and internal audit are on track to deliver the annual audit plan by financial year end. There has been one amendment to the plan as it was agreed with management to postpone the income collection audit and planning to subsequent year, given the current level of other reviews and related work ongoing in planning. This audit will be replaced with an income collection audit within leisure services. The full list of audit areas and the status of each can be found in the attached report at Appendix F. There are no implications as a result of this business. The recommendation is to seek members' comments in this report and approval of the amendment to the internal audit plan. Happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Deborah. Brona, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Deborah. My question is more in relation to the process around the way the audit plan is approved, etc. And I know we do approve the plan as an audit committee on an annual basis. And I'm just mindful of the fact that perhaps the terminology may be slightly different. We're seeking today members' comments on the report with management already having approved the change. Perhaps maybe it needs to be more, the audit committee has to really approve the plan as opposed to come at it secondly, if that makes sense. Deborah, does that?
I think that was just an oversight in the recommendations, and it's to seek members' comments in the report and the approval of that amendment, because ultimately it's the audit committee here who approve the plan of work and any amendments to it as well.
Okay, forgive me for just being pedantic, but it is a very important one, and thank you, Deborah, for that.
Any further comments? Councillor.
Just again, very, very busy and ambitious plan. I do agree with the previous comments made, and I do understand the rationale for that change. But thank you very much, and I agree with there's plenty of the work done to date anyway. So we'll look forward to seeing the next one. I think it's coming anyway. Thank you.
So we have a recommendation then to approve the amendment. Can I get a proposal for that? People are happy?
Propose.
Councillor Logue, and somebody to second it, please. Alderman Kerrigan, thank you. So the next item, members, is for information, and that's item number 12. Brian, would you like to comment on that?
Yes, Chair, thank you. If we could just focus on the cover letter that the local government auditor has issued, I think it's page 147 of everybody's pack. Every year we have to undertake an improvement audit and assessment, and the cover letter outlines that the local government auditor certified the improvement audit for the council with an unqualified audit opinion. So we had no issues to raise. An unqualified audit opinion, we've included the audit certificate there, and we haven't made any statutory recommendations in the instance. So following on then on the report, which is on page 159 of your pack, just highlighting the key messages of the report, Chair. Unqualified audit opinion, and the local government auditors concluded that the council is likely to comply with Part 12 of the Local Government Act, which have to do under statute. We haven't made any statutory recommendations, and we haven't made any new proposals for improvement. I'll take the report as read, Chair, and just happy to take any questions on the report if that's okay.
Thank you, Brian. Any comments or questions then? No? Everybody content to move on? Okay, so we're going to confidential now then.